Hello, everyone. I know you know about the stigma behind mental illness, and it's pretty terrible. But it could be worse. You could have what I have, which is borderline personality disorder, the worst stigmatized of all of the mental illnesses. We are actually very stigmatized, even in the psychiatry profession. I have been denied treatment based on my name and my diagnosis alone. I was told my case was too complicated. That was all they knew, was that my name was Andy and that I had BPD. And there are plenty of articles online, misleading articles, that call us manipulative and relate us to fatal attraction and say all sorts of horrible things about us that aren't even true. And then there's plenty of articles online that basically list our symptoms and why it's a disorder and not just a fun little part of yourself. But I don't need to do that. You guys have already heard all that. But there's actually, believe it or not, benefits to having BPD. I know it's crazy, but there are actually good things that come along with all of the bad stuff. Not saying you should run out and get some BPD, not that you can, it's not tangible, but if you do have BPD, there are good things you can think about yourself because of your disorder. People with BPD, we experience our emotional threshold is wider than most people's. So it's kind of like how people can only see a certain spectrum of colors, but there are other colors that exist. It's like that. And most people fall in the most people category, but we can see beyond the regular spectrum of colors. But that's how we are with emotions. We feel them much more intensely than everyone else does, which is why we react so erratically. So we usually are feeling bad emotions because we have poor self-image and usually a history of abuse. And so most of the time our emotions don't feel that great. But when we feel happiness, when we feel joy, we feel it at a level that other people will never be able to feel. The happiest that a non-borderline has ever felt in their life isn't attainable to what I've felt when I've been at my happiest. And that's pretty impressive that we can do that. That's why we fall in love so easily. Love is so powerful, and we've felt love so intensely, and it's actually something you can be proud of about having the intense emotional changes, is that we actually feel the good emotions too. And when you're living in recovery, like I am, I was diagnosed in 2011, did DBT, very big help, and then went on to do more training and become more involved in mental health advocacy, and now I'm living in recovery. And I have a lot more happy moments now, not nearly as many miserable ones. And when I have them, they're happier than other people normally feel. There is another thing about us. We are unique. Everyone has a story that's like I have borderline personality disorder, and they're like, oh, I know someone that had that. And it makes us kind of unforgettable, which is sometimes a bad thing, but it makes us different than other people, and all of us like to celebrate our individuality. People with a lot of mental illnesses, we often are very creative, and we're very good at problem solving because we think in very extreme ways. And I know I myself am a writer and an artist. I paint, I do papercraft, I do all kinds of stuff. I love art. I'm actually trained as a graphic designer. That's what I went to school for. Another thing is that because we are so keen on what other people are thinking, especially early on in treatment, before you really get past a lot of that paranoia, we're very aware of what other people are doing or think we know what they're thinking at the time. And we also have the ability to read facial expressions better. They've done tests where they show pictures of people with different facial expressions, and people with BPD can more easily recognize what someone is actually feeling based on their facial expression. because we've lived through a lot of chaos, and because we have felt all of these extremes of of emotions, we're also very empathetic and very compassionate. Everyone I know that's in recovery from BPD is just the most giving people, because we've been through so much. And I mean, that's another thing. We've been to hell and back. I mean, it is hard to live with BPD. It is not a fun illness. I mean, I'm saying these good things about that come along with it, but they're more just, you know, kind of just a side thing. The illness itself is not great. So we've have quite a story to tell, and people often find our stories very fascinating because they're very unique. I know as a presenter with a nonprofit, I do speeches locally. I am the only presenter I've ever met that has a personality disorder. So I always have a very interesting and different story than the typical 3: bipolar, schizophrenia, depression. So it makes my story much more unique. We are very passionate because of the intensity again. That intensity comes into play again. When we feel for something, we feel hard, we feel strong. That's why, you know, when we experience love, it's so intense and so strong. We're just so passionate about what we do and who we care for and what we do with our lives. I know since I've been in recovery, it's just like, oh my gosh, all this advocacy work, and every time I get a little achievement, I'm just so proud of myself, and it's just, I'm so passionate about what I do. Impulsivity, did you say? I think you meant spontaneity, because we are never boring, that's for sure. We're pretty unpredictable, so, you know, we kind of like to live it up. We do what we feel like in the moment, so we're not the predictable, you know, always doing the exact same thing type of person. You never know what we're going to pull out of our hats. So those are some things that are actually good things about having borderline personality disorder. So we're not the terrible, horrible people that a lot of psychiatry and internet people like to think we are. We actually are good, and you need to remember that and practice your self-compassion. And if you need to, watch this video again and remember why you are so awesome. Sorry, my cat's tail's in the way. BPD warrior, I'm out.